What's going on, everybody? Happy holidays. Matt here, talking to you guys today about decision making. And all decision making really is just problem solving or choosing between two options that can lead to different things. And this is a very important skill to kind of develop in yourself, whether they're small decisions or big decisions, whether it's those daily decisions that might not seem like much at the time, but can eventually develop into habits, or like the larger, more concrete decisions that lead to career and life paths. And this can a lot of times be impacted by your personality. There's great personality quizzes out there that figure out how you make decisions. Usually, it's either something between intuitive or reasoning. And when in reality, most people will usually use a combination of the two while leaning in a particular direction. If you're like me, your decisions might be a little bit overly affected by emotions, or and that way you might be ignoring some of the vital information, or maybe you're just you get too much information or too much outside opinions, and this can leave you paralyzed or frozen when making decisions and not be able to really make it move on and go in the best direction. If any of these things might ring true for you, hopefully this video can offer you some suggestions today. So I mentioned that decision making is very heavily influenced by personality, and so there's kind of two main ones. And the first is intuition, and this is really kind of using that gut feeling to make your decisions. Now, some people might look at it and see it as this magical spidey sense thing that you kind of use to figure out what you're gonna do, but in reality, it's just a combination of some of your past experiences, your own personal values, and what's important to you. And this can be super helpful when making very simple decisions, or decisions that need to be made very quickly. It is worth noting and worth examining, though, the why behind this, why you feel this way. If you lean strongly one way or another, why is it that I feel that this is the course of action that needs to be happening rather than something else, and can really be helpful in using your intuition to the best of your ability. The other method is reasoning, and where intuition is really focusing on your perception and not always reality. Reasoning is only reality. It's the facts and figures that are in front of you right now to make the decision. It kind of ignores different emotions, and it ignores maybe stuff that happened in the past, and is really just focusing on the here and the now and what are the facts of the situation. This can really be helpful when a more structured approach is needed. Some more complicated decisions, or decisions where you have more time to make them, might really be worth looking into and gathering all the information so you can make the best possible choice. So one way that someone might combine these two is to start off with reasoning through a decision that they have to make, and gathering those facts and figures and trying to figure out objectively what's the best option. And kind of once you arrive at that obvious decision, then you kind of bring in your intuition and ask yourself, okay, how do I feel about this option? Does this feel like the right thing to do? And if the answer is no, then maybe it's time to have another look at it, see it from a different perspective, and see, okay, why doesn't this feel right, even though the facts are pointing in that direction? Because at the end of the day, if you're not emotionally committed to your decision, and if it doesn't feel like the right thing, are you going to put everything you have into implementing that? So there's a couple different things you can do to kind of improve your decision making. One of them is to have one or two people that you can go to if you have to make those tough, big decisions. But choose carefully. This isn't going to be necessarily your best friend or the person that you have the most fun hanging out with. That person is great, but if it's someone who is just going to tell you what they would do, or kind of push you in a certain direction, maybe they have a vested interest in you going one way as opposed to the other, or anything like that. The person that you really want is going to be someone who's going to ask you those thoughtful questions, who really isn't interested in you going one way or the other, just wants to get to the bottom of what's going to make you your best and your happiest, and also someone that can kind of share a different perspective from it. If you're only looking at a decision from one way, but they can open up a different viewpoint for you. Maybe that will help you out. The second one's pretty easy. It's just going to be asking questions and not being afraid to ask the questions that you need to make the best decision. Maybe you feel like you don't have enough information to decide in the way that you want. You might not know all the information about the decision or the different options or the consequences of choosing those options. And in that case, it can be really helpful to try and just know everything about the situation and trying to get to the bottom of it. Secondly, if you don't feel like you have enough time to gather that information, to reason through a problem or to check your intuition on it, it's perfectly acceptable to ask for a little bit more time when making the decision, whether that's with school, with jobs, with different things. It's okay to ask. The worst thing someone can say is no, or maybe they can steer you in a direction where you can get the more information or time that you need. So not being afraid to ask those questions can be very important. And the last thing that I'll leave you with just has to do with a story that I'm going to tell. So bear with me real quick. A man proposed a donkey, and the donkey is caught in between a bucket of water and food, or a bale of hay. And this donkey is equally hungry and thirsty. And so he's equal distance from both the hay and the water. And the man proposed that in this situation, the donkey will become paralyzed with indecision and will die from hunger or thirst, and both in that situation. And so, really, it's a very oversimplified, version of making decisions, right? It's not, just those things. A lot of people are gonna be like, I would just go get water first and then go to hay or whatever. But, I think in this situation, just kind of know that we can't be the donkey when it comes to decision making. Sometimes we might have too much information or too many opinions, and we really just need to simplify it to what is the best next move for me? What's the best next decision that I can make? And then go full force in that direction to try and make that decision. And also don't feel stuck in rationalizing out that decision when the circumstances around you change. Maybe a decision wasn't the best for you at the time, but when things change, feel free to change your direction as well and go back to that decision. But it's important to realize that not deciding is in fact making a decision, and that decision isn't one that you want. You want something that you're more in control of and that you can go to. And like I said, don't feel like you are stuck in something once you've made a decision. Always be analyzing what's the next best move for me, and just try and do that to the best that you can. That's all I have for you guys today. I appreciate you watching this video. I have some decisions that I've been reflecting on as I've been talking about it, and so it's helpful to me. Our life is about a culmination of all the decisions that we end up making, and so I hope you got something out of it too. Thanks so much for listening. Happy holidays, and cheers.